Have you ever looked at a drawing of something shiny or reflective and wondered, how on earth did they get it to look so real? By focusing on the right things in your drawing, it's possible to achieve an almost photographic effect of those shiny reflections, and it's not as hard as it might seem. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 key shading techniques that I use when I'm drawing this shiny metal spoon. And those techniques are light and dark shapes, hard and soft edges, and smooth shading transitions. When combined, these techniques will help you capture realistic reflections on shiny metal surfaces. For this drawing, I'm mostly using a 2B pencil because I want to utilize its softness to get flat, dense areas of shading. I'm using the 2B for sketching and shading, but when I'm sketching with it, I'm trying to use very light pressure to get a light mark. But you could use a lighter pencil like a 2H if you can't control the light pressure of your pencil just yet. Light and dark shapes. Before worrying about small details, we need to put in the big light and dark shapes that create the form. So forget that this object is a spoon or a jug or another shiny thing, and try to see it just as a jigsaw puzzle of light and dark shapes. Simplify the value shapes by asking yourself if they are closest to white, to black, or to grey. A quick tip here is to squint at the object as much as you can. Squint until you just see the big shapes of light and dark. Once we've marked in those big value shapes, we can leave the white shapes as the white of the paper and then shade in the darker shapes. Now, I'm not scribbling dark and hard with my pencil to shade in those darker shapes. Instead, I'm putting down an even base layer that I can make darker later on. At this stage, I'm just differentiating between the light shapes and the dark shapes. I'm holding my pencil quite loosely and holding it towards the back of the pencil. Holding the pencil this way allows me to create softer, broader marks, which will help me get a smooth base layer. I'm moving the pencil in a consistent direction and keeping my strokes light and even. The goal here is to create a uniform, flat value that we can build on top of. Now, if shading an even layer or using light pressure is something that you struggle with, then I'd recommend checking out this video after you finish watching this one, and I'll add a direct link to that at the end. This initial layer doesn't need to be perfect, but I am trying to avoid patchy or uneven shading. A 2B pencil will get blunt fairly quickly, but I find having a slightly blunt pencil actually helps with shading a base layer because it creates softer looking marks. Once the spoon has been divided up into light and dark shapes, then we can start to build up darker layers to the same value as what we see in the photo reference. Reflections on metal are often very high contrast, which means there are lots of extreme lights and darks. And contrast creates the illusion of shine. I'll repeat that one more time. Contrast creates the illusion of shine. So you might look at a shiny object with lots of light reflecting off it and be inclined to draw it quite light. And I find beginners do tend to shy away from adding very dark values. But the metal won't look reflective in a light drawing. It will only look reflective if you get the extreme contrast between the light areas and the dark areas. Placing those extreme values side by side is what creates that realistic shiny effect. So you will often have white right next to black. Hard and soft edges. As we add in the darker shading, we need to bring our focus to the edges of the value shapes and notice whether they are hard or soft. In reflective metal, you'll see very hard, sharp edges between light and dark, but there are some soft edges too. Notice the sharp edge on the side of the spoon here. But over here in the curve of the spoon, the edge between the light and dark is a bit softer, a little bit fuzzy or blurry. Getting this balance of hard and soft edges helps bring a lifelike quality to the drawing. To get a nice crisp edge, you'll need a sharp pencil. Now this might seem like common sense, but I know from experience that it's pretty easy to just be lazy and keep on drawing with a blunt pencil. So we all need a reminder to sharpen our pencil when we want a nice sharp edge or line. Smooth transitions. To get a realistic illusion of 3D form, we need to add smooth transitions where we can see them in the subject. A transition is just a gradual change from light to dark shading. And you can see that here on the handle as it curves from the side plane to the top plane. There's no hard divide between the dark and the light areas here. We can't see the line where it changes from light to dark. Instead, there's a smooth, gradual change from black to grey to white. I can shade in the grey value, but then I need to blend it into the dark and the light areas so that there are no noticeable divides between them. And the trick here is to use a light touch. You can use gentle circular motions with the pencil, applying very light pressure. This helps to get that soft transition without harsh lines that can come from back and forward shading. From the grey area of the transition, you can shade gently back into the dark area and then repeat this on the lighter side of the transition, using small circles with your pencil to blend grey into white. As you move towards the lightest part of the transition, your pencil should be barely touching the paper so as to make the lightest mark possible. We really want that shading to just disappear into the white of the page. Blending shading with just your pencil requires patience, and I'm afraid to say it takes some practice. So if you want to practice shading smooth transitions, again, you can check out the video link at the end of this one. Now that I've got light and dark shapes, hard and soft edges, and smooth transitions, all in the correct place, then I can work on refining the drawing. This means blending any patchy areas and sharpening up the edges that need to be nice and crisp. To end up with a successful drawing, you need to assess your own work compared to the reference photo. Ask yourself questions like, are my values correct? Are the lights in the right place? Are the darks in the right place? Are the edges sharp enough where they need to be sharp? And are my transitions smooth, or can you see divides between where it changes from light to middle to dark? This stage of refining a drawing is a slow push and pull process. Sometimes very small adjustments make a big difference. And this stage is hard because at the end of the drawing you're tired and probably over it, but you need to take that time to assess your drawing and identify what needs to be changed. If you need to, take a break and then do your assessment with fresh eyes. If you've enjoyed this tutorial or if you've got any questions about it, please feel free to leave a comment below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please subscribe for future videos, and if you can hit the thumbs up button for this one, that would be great as well. Until next time, happy drawing.